In moments of historical reckoning, words and actions become markers of truth. The latest parliamentary session in India has been such a watershed, full of hysteria and a complete nervous breakdown of the leader of the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi. His temper, laced with expletives, table thumping, and visible loss of composure, clearly revealed an extreme level of personal frustration. But more than that, it marked a broader existential crisis within the opposition ranks that had bet the House on derailing the government over the Operation Sindoor. And they lost. What followed wasn't just political theatre, you see, it was a window into the desperation of a political class that had built its ideology on appeasement, subversion, and a very carefully curated silence around Islamic terror, only to see that entire edifice crumble under the weight of facts, public memory, and military success. Welcome to the Drishtikon Show, where we go beyond the noise, pierce through the propaganda, and expose the phenomena and actions that others are too afraid to touch or approach. This is not just about politics, you see, it's about rediscovering the truth. Today we will analyze and unpack the spectacular hate-filled rhetoric and narratives from the opposition benches in the Indian Parliament during the Operation Sindoor debates. The abuse, the insult, the mocking, and most importantly, the firm resolve to bat for the Islamic terrorists and their masters, the Pakistani establishment, was amazing. The talking points across the board seem to have been a very collaborative effort between the 10 Janpath and Rawalpindi. The Operation Sindoor, India's swift, surgical and retaliatory military operation against terror networks in Pakistan, was not merely a geopolitical maneuver. It was a statement of resolve, of national pride, and of strategic maturity. For the first time, the very first time, India did not just do a kadi ninda or a severe condemnation or gave dossiers on the act. It just acted. India mounted a coordinated offensive involving all three wings of its military, targeting not just terrorist infrastructure but deeper state structures that sheltered and funded them across the Pakistani landscape. The operation's unprecedented success obviously rattled the opposition and the ecosystem, but its implication spelled doom to their political aspirations. You see, Operation's success, first of all, it shattered the myth of India's strategic restraint. Second, it put Pakistan's duplicity in global focus, forcing Western powers to acknowledge what India had long stated, that Pakistan's military intelligence complex was the fountainhead of jihad in the Indian subcontinent. And third, it exposed decades of UPA-era inertia, where such responses were either delayed, diluted, or blocked altogether. In a political miscalculation of epic proportions, the Congress-led opposition demanded a discussion on Operation Sindoor. It was a tactical blunder. Expecting to corner the government on civilian casualties or foreign fallout, they walked into a well-laid trap of their own making. The government, armed with dossiers, footage, radar logs, and intercepted communications, presented a clinical debrief of the operation. Worse for the opposition, the families of victims of cross-border terror had by now galvanized the public sentiment behind the government. What followed was inevitable. The opposition was exposed not as critics of strategy, but as defenders of status quo, deniers of reality, and shameless apologists for Pakistan's deep state. Rahul Gandhi's meltdown on the floor of the House was not just a personal embarrassment. It was symbolic of a political ideology that is no longer linked to India's national interests. The use of the F word, the table thumping, the loss of rhetorical coherence, all this was symptomatic of a man and a party that had actually lost the plot. A few key takeaways from his performance were that he had no counterfacts to present against Operation Sindoor. He attempted emotionalism, but even that failed, as the imagery of Indian missiles and drone attacks was far too powerful for the public. He lost control, which in parliamentary history rarely ever bodes well for the leadership credibility. This moment should be and will be replayed for years in media and even in credible political science classrooms as a day when a leader's mind buckled under the weight of truth. In a shocking moment of anti-India hate, Praniti Shinde, MP and daughter of the former Home Minister Sushil Kumar Shinde, dismissed Operation Sindoor as a tamasha. Her apologists in media will call it an unfortunate choice of words. But make no mistake, it was a deliberate signal to delegitimize the sacrifice of India's armed forces, the pain of the families whose loved ones were massacred in terror attacks, and the strategic brilliance of a coordinated military strike across enemy borders. This coming from the daughter of a man who had coined the term saffron terror, a false narrative that had derailed India's internal security discourse for over a decade, this remark was indicative of politics of extreme India hate, which had become a generational legacy. The Shindes and others like them represent an elite class of dynastic politicians who have long benefited from keeping India's civilizational trauma buried, whether 26/11, Godhra or Kargil. Calling the operation a tamasha is completely tone-deaf, yes, but it's more than just that. It's morally depraved. Let's not pretend that these were isolated lapses. The behavior of multiple opposition parties in the wake of Operation Sindoor paints a pattern of contempt for the Indian state, its military, and above all, its people. TMC MPs, known for their loud protests and performative Islamist-backed pseudo-Bengali nationalism, used the debate to raise issues of civilian casualties and Islamophobia. This, even as the visuals and the intel show terror camps being the primary targets. Their dog whistling was clearly about ideology, one rooted in Islamist appeasement and Hindu hatred. The Samajwadi Party leadership chose a more insidious route: silence. Their refusal to condemn Pakistan, their passive-aggressive statements about state aggression, and their carefully worded sorrow for all deaths was telling. It signaled their continued appeasement politics in Uttar Pradesh's delicate demography, where Islamist sensitivities beat Indian sensitivities every time. Donald Trump's claim that India is a dead economy is completely bizarre. So bizarre that it is delusional. India is the fastest growing major economy in the world, leading in manufacturing, services and digital innovation. But what's worse is Rahul Gandhi parroting this falsehood with his trademark smirk, gleefully throwing his own country under the bus. No self-respecting leader mocks his own nation to score points abroad. What Congress bootlickers foolishly call dissent is actually servility and disgrace. To repeat a blatant lie from a foreign leader against one's own people shows not just ignorance but deep-rooted contempt for India's rise. The Congress's response was perhaps the worst of the lot, not because it was unexpected, but because it confirmed fears. Even in the face of hard evidence, they chose to speak the language of dilution, diversion, and complete denial. They echoed the extreme hate that Rawalpindi's generals carry for India, Indians, and specifically for the Hindus, as Asim Munir recently showed in his speech very, very clearly. To understand this outrage, we must revisit the original sin, the fabrication of the saffron terror narrative under the UPA. While Indian cities burned in a series of jihadi bombings from 2006 to 2011 and also the 26/11 attacks in Mumbai, the Congress-led government tried to balance the narrative by painting Hindus as potential terrorists. It was a deeply cynical ploy to appease the vote banks, to divert the scrutiny from Pakistan and its agent, and to vilify political opponents like the RSS and the BJP. Sushil Kumar Shinde's infamous labeling of RSS and BJP camps as terror training centers still stands as one of the most disgraceful acts of misinformation by a home minister in Indian history. Lieutenant Colonel Purohit, a military intelligence officer who had infiltrated Lashkar-e-Toiba and was conversant with the 26/11 plot, was arrested just 15 days prior to the attack. He and Sadhvi Pragya, who was also arrested without evidence, were tortured for over 8 years non-stop in the most inhuman way. All done at the behest of the Congress leadership and their fetish to create the saffron terror hoax. The legacy continues today. We shouldn't view Praniti Shinde's remark and Rahul Gandhi's antics as aberrations. Instead, they are ideological heirlooms. Operation Sindoor is not just a military operation. It is a cultural moment. For decades, Indians were taught to be apologetic about their nationalism, their identity, their military, their civilization. That's changed